Hi everyone, this is Semal Bodh Mastani. Today I'd like to share with you an on-demand course I have put together on reinventing work inside out. So a lot of us deal with overwhelm with competing deadlines. For many of us, even though we're spending more and more hours at work, we're getting lesser and lesser done. And this was also the case for me. And so in the last few years, I've really been exploring approaches which can help us work smart and get more done in lesser time. And this is the approach I want to share with you today. The approach I share blends productivity science, in particular the deep work approach, with mindfulness techniques to help you get your best work done in half the time. So to start with, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am Semal Bodh Mastani. I studied in the UK. I was a consultant at Deloitte and other consultancies before going to Yale to do my MBA. And in 2018, I came to Sri Lanka to open a co-working space called Home Tree Co-working, which focuses on bringing mindfulness into the way we work. So let's get into it. First, I want to tell you about what really got me interested in this approach. So just before the pandemic, so in 2018, I had this lifelong dream of becoming an entrepreneur come true. Before that, I've always been a high achiever for most of my life. I went to the UK in scholarship. I'm originally from India. And then after I graduated, I worked in a few different consultancies, eventually working at Deloitte. And although I was very successful and I'd met a lot of my goals, I had this dream of being an entrepreneur and making an impact in a space I was passionate about. And so in 2018, I came to Sri Lanka. I opened this co-working space, and I opened it when my daughter was just 5 months old. We launched. So I was a first time entrepreneur in a new country and also a first time mother. It was a lot to take on, and I had put a lot of expectations on my head. And as you can imagine, I was completely exhausted. Even though I was spending a lot of time at work, I was really working to my maximum. I never felt like I was doing enough. I never felt like I was having the impact that I wanted. When I was at work, I was thinking about home. And when I was at home, I was thinking about work. So I was never really fully present. And the most disheartening thing was that even though I was working round the clock, I was not feeling satisfied by the work I was doing. Eventually, I led myself to exhaustion when I reached a state where I just didn't want to do anything. And luckily at that point, just before the pandemic hit, I went to Bali for a co-working unconference. And there I got a fresh perspective on a lot of things. And I got introduced to this approach called deep work. It was presented to me by a psychologist who was running a co-working space in London. And he had been testing this out in his co-working space, and it had been really interesting and successful. So I started learning about this approach. I started testing it out with my team, doing it in a few different ways. And it has really changed the way I work. But not only has it changed the way I work, it has changed the way I plan my work. What do I focus on? And how do I do my work? It's really helped me work in a much smarter and more mindful way. As a result, I feel like I'm a lot more in control of my work life. For the first time, I feel like towards the end of the day, I am proud of the work that I'm doing. And through my deep work sessions, I have, done a lot of amazing work, written these playbooks and all, which I will share with you later. So it's really helped me a lot. And I feel like this is such an essential skill for young people today, to be able to tap into their inner resources, tap into their best selves, to give that out into their work. Okay. So you will be surprised how some very simple principles, when applied, can make such a difference. And so I really want to share this approach with you. And unlike the plethora of YouTube videos that you see, this is a very practical, hands-on approach. You can do it by yourself or together with your team to get your best work done in half the time. So let's get into it. So what is the state of the world today? Today, distractions have become part of our work, and distractions are the number one productivity killer. So McKinsey Global Study shows that 60% of our day is spent in unproductive, busy work. We work in these open plan offices. We have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of networking tools, which means that we are constantly getting distracted. And what happens? So the Gloria Mark, a digital distraction expert, shows that on average, we get disturbed every 11 minutes. Either you get a ping on your phone or your coworker taps you on the shoulder, asks you a question. And it actually takes somewhere between 20 to 25 minutes for you to focus on what you're doing, to be completely focused and reach that high level of concentration. It takes you 25 minutes. But if you are getting distracted every 11 minutes, that means that most of our day is spent in this shallow level of focus where we're not fully engaged in what we're doing. And so it's taking us more time to do the same work. And as a result, in an 8-hour workday, we are only really getting 3.5 hours of productive work done. Added on to this, our productivity has tanked. We as a society are a lot more stressed, especially after COVID. There was a lot more stress, a lot more overwhelm. And 75% of employees, so some research showed that, ever since the pandemic, Google searches for how to get your brain to focus have increased. A lot more employees are reporting that they're feeling overwhelmed and significantly less productive. And this was research done straight after the pandemic, but even now you can see that some of these conditions are true, and they also become very true when you hit certain stressful life conditions. So for instance, when my daughter was born, having that stress and, having to give a lot of time to her and look after her, plus having work stress, it's very overwhelming. Or if you have a family member who's sick, any of those things which occupy a lot of your brain means that there's less bandwidth for you to work. And that really creates a negative cycle. So what I really love about this approach is it really teaches you how to be mindful about how much time, energy you have. How do you use that time and energy in an intelligent way so that you can make the most out of the resources you have without burning yourself out. And that's really why I love this approach so much. Okay, so now let's get to what is deep work. I really want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you were really able to focus on something for a long period of time without being disturbed? So at least 30 minutes or more. So just take a deep breath, ask yourself this question, think about it. For me, this was probably in university. That was the last time I could think where I was so focused on what I was doing for over an hour or two. And it was usually when I was cramming before my exams. But since then, I've never really reached that high level of focus. We as a society, we don't have the best work habits because, we have a lot of meetings. We are in open plan offices, and those all don't really support, intense, high concentrated work. And when we concentrate, so what is deep work? It's work performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes our cognitive abilities to their limit. These are the efforts which create new value, improve your skill, and they create work which is hard to replicate. So what is deep work? It's work performed when you're in a high level of focus, high level of concentration. It takes your brain at least 20 to 25 minutes to get to that level of focus and concentration. And at that stage only are you using your brain to the maximum capacity. You're really focused on what you're doing. That's when you're getting your best work out. But in the modern way we work, we rarely get that opportunity, and so we are much less productive. And so this is the whole the foundation of what we are doing at the course. Like, how do you build this habit? How do you make time in your day to build this habit? And what's the best way to build this skill up? This is all the things that we will be teaching you in the course. Okay, so the concept of deep work was brought about by a computer science professor called Cal Newport, who has also authored 6 other books. And deep work allowed him to double his research papers, raise a family, write a book, and lecture full time. And he says he did all of this without having to work late nights. Like he would finish work at 5 o'clock so that he had time with his family. And so that's what I really love about this approach. It's about a mindful way of working. It's about bringing balance into the way we work, and it does not have to come at the cost of the impact or the quality of our work. And that's what I really love about this approach. So what is a big why? A big why is to help you focus on what's important. Now that's really important because as people who want to achieve a lot, as high achievers, we put a lot on our plate without realizing that one, we can't finish all of it. Two, if you're trying to do so many things, we can't do anything properly. So a big part of this course is also to help you focus on what matters, what is really important to you, and differentiate that, prioritize that, so that you're not just putting more and more on your plate, and then obviously you won't be able to finish all of it to a good level. So you're setting up yourself for failure. So how do you set yourself up for success is something we will teach you in this course. And then how do you get that done on time, vastly improve the quality of your work, and get time to do the things that you love. Those are the things that we are focusing on in this course. At the core of it, our wider mission is to really help you find the right balance. And this comes by focusing on the right things, doing them in the right way, having time to do other things that you love, whatever that might be, because at the end of the day, we're not machines, we're not human doings, we are human beings, and we need to bring that balance in so that we live happier and more fulfilling lives. So that's really our why. Our audacious dream really is to help you be the highest and fullest expression of yourself, because only when you are the highest and fullest expression of yourself are you contributing to the world in the best way you can. You're really sharing your gifts with the world. And I believe each of us have a unique gift to share with the world. And by bringing a little more structure, a little more mindfulness into how we are working, we can really shine our diamond really bright. And can you imagine what a community of change makers bringing their heart and soul to fulfill a purpose that they believe in? What would that look like? That's the community we want to build. And we welcome you to join this journey with us. Okay, so this is some really interesting research done on why is deep work one of the most valuable skills of the 21st century. So a pair of MIT economists from the US, their names are Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee. They wrote a book called Race Against the Machine, where they really studied the impact of automation and how it is going to be affecting the labor force and the job market in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And what they saw was that with a lot of automation taking place, a lot of jobs are getting automated. So even at our co-working space, we have an e-commerce company. And what they're saying is that they just need 4 or 5 people to work for them because most of their systems, everything is hyper automated. So what happens in a world like that is that many jobs are getting redundant, but many new jobs are being created. So to succeed in a workplace like that, you need to be able to learn hard things really fast. That is a deep work skill. And then through their research, they showed that as the world is advancing fast, there are 3 kinds of people who will be able to prosper. The first are the owners of capital, or people who have access to capital. So this somehow has always been the case. People who have access to capital always are surviving and prospering. The second is people who work in intelligent machines, machine learning, technology, because that's kind of where the bigger trend is going. So that's no surprise as well. But the third one is really interesting. It's about people who are superstars in their field of work. Why do we say that? Today, it's possible for people to do anything they like being a teacher. Earlier, if you were a teacher, you were only a teacher in a school or you were a professor in a university. But now you have the ability to teach online. You have the ability to teach over Zoom. You have the ability to be a blogger. If you were a writer, there's so many different opportunities. You can write posts, you can write blogs, you can write books, you can write magazine articles. You can write poetry and have that put up. So we live in a world where there is a lot of opportunity for creative talent, for people to be a superstar really in any kind of field of work. But what has also come with that is an ability to differentiate the quality of someone's work. Let's take an example. For instance, if I need to do my website, 10 years back, I would probably have very limited choices about who I could approach to do my website. Or even 15 years back, let's say, I would probably only be able to go to the people in my town or in my city. And maybe there are 5, 10, 15 people there. I would only be able to judge from what they are quoting as a price, what is their skill, and then choose from there. But today, with websites like Fiverr, I can actually go and look at the work of anybody in the world and see how good they are, how much are they charging, and decide if I want to go with them accordingly. So now we have reached this place of perfect competition. And what happens in the economists say, when you are in a perfect competition, the people who are really good at what they do, they get overcompensated for their quality, because their quality is really high. And the people who are average or not so great at what they do, they are very easily recognized, and they're not, they don't become as successful. So in the day which we live in today, where there's perfect competition, to be valued for your work, you need to be really good at your work. And to be able to do that, deep work again is a skill that you need to have. Because what does deep work allow you to do? It allows you to produce at your best level. It allows you to produce at your peak, to give your best to the work you do. And it also allows you to quickly master hard things. So deep work is increasingly becoming one of the most valuable skills that can help you become a superstar in any field of work that you choose. Now, while it is becoming a super, super important skill in the world, it is also becoming a very rare skill. So right now we live in the age of TikTok, where most videos last 10 seconds. And you can really see that, our attention spans are becoming really low. They're going down to the second. So our ability to focus is decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. But, the value of being able to focus is increasing. So deep work, while it is becoming a very valuable skill, it's also becoming a rarer skill. So to really help you stand out in the work that you do, to become a superstar in the work that you do, I really believe that this is an important skill to develop. And just like anything else, deep work is a habit. It takes time, it takes effort to build up. But once you build it up, just like you're working out in the gym, you start to enjoy it, you start to look forward to your sessions, and you feel proud about the quality of work that you're producing, which you were not able to produce before. Okay. So now let me just tell you a little bit about what will we be teaching you in the course. It's quite a comprehensive course. We've really tested out a lot of different ways to do deep work, a lot of different ways to bring mindfulness in, and I'm very confident about the approach that we've developed. It really helps a starter build up their habit of deep work. So what do we cover in the course? The first thing we cover is a 7-step framework for you to achieve more by doing less. So, right from childhood, we are told who we should be, what we should do, what makes us successful. And what happens is that often we're running behind goals which are not really even ours. So the 7-step framework really helps you take a step back and think about what it is that you want to achieve in your life. And having that clarity really helps in making that dream come true. So here again, I want to use my own example. Like I'd shared a little earlier, I was working in London as a consultant. And in many ways, when I was doing that, I had hit a lot of my goals of working in the big city, being independent, earning my own money, getting a decent salary. But something in me was still quite unsatisfied and quite unfulfilled. And so I really took some time out to ask myself, if I could do anything in the world, what would it be? How would I like to contribute to the world around me? I really sat with this question. I really pondered on this question. And the answer that came to me was to blend two passions I have. I'm really passionate about work. I give my all into my work. And I'm also very passionate about the field of mindfulness and spirituality. So I really wanted to blend these two worlds together by bringing mindfulness into the way we work. Because what I saw in consultancies and in, even in big banks where I was working, was that there was a lack of empathy for humans, and there were all these really bright kids that were burning themselves out, and it wasn't a pleasant thing to see. So I really wanted to bring a change there, and having that clarity really helped, because just less than 3 to 4 years from that time, I would say in 4 years time, from when I had that contemplation, I was able to open Home Tree Co-working, which was based on that mission. At the time, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I was just doing a regular 9 to 5 job. I didn't really have any savings. I wasn't planning to move to Sri Lanka or any of that. But just being clear of what I wanted, I believe, is half the work done. And it really helps you put the intention out there, and then the universe to really start to align itself, and even for you to recognize the opportunities when they do come up and they are aligned with where you want to go. So I believe in really having clarity on where you need to go, and the 7-step process really helps you with that. And it also helps you declutter your life, which again is really important, because you don't want to put another goal on top of an already full plate. You want to see what on your plate is useful, what is not useful, take out what's not useful, and then put in something that's really meaningful for you. So that we take you through that step in that whole 7-step framework to help you achieve more by doing less. Then next is we give you the tips how to ace your deep work approach, your deep work methodology. How do you build the positive work habits? How do you improve your ability to focus, manage your not only your time, but also your energy, and prime your mind to work at its peak? So again, these are tried and tested approaches. These are things that we've been testing with the team, seeing what works, what doesn't, and we've put them all together as 10 tips to help you build the deep work habit. Then we tell you the different way you can deep work. So, like our brain only has a certain capacity. So, you can't do 3 hours of focused work in one go. That won't work well. So what's the best way to go about it? What's the best duration? When to have breaks? And also, how do you prime your mind? So even before you start working, how do you get prepared for the deep work session? How do you prime your mind to work at its peak? This is all the things that are covered in this course. And then it's also got guided meditations by me, plus resources, which I found really helpful to bring into your deep work methodology, your deep work process. So it's quite a comprehensive course, and I am sure you will gain a lot of benefit from it. Okay, so just quickly going through what were the basic principles of our approach. The first one was really to help you focus on what is really important for you, and not the things that don't really matter or won't matter in 10 years' time. So for this, actually, I would invite you to just do a very quick exercise with me. You can pause the video, but I would like you to make a list of things that are important to you that you want to achieve this month. So you can pause the video and make a list of things that are really important for you to achieve this month. Once you've made the list of things that are important to you, I want you to rank them. Number 1 is the most important thing that you want to achieve this month. Number 2 is something you would like to achieve, but you can achieve it next month also. Number 3 is things that you've been wanting to achieve, and they are on your plate. You would like to get them done, but they're not super important to you. So, all your ones, you can have 2, 3 most important things. So when you have your list of ones, then I want you to ask yourself this question, but make sure you ask yourself this question only after you have the top 3 things that are really important to you listed down. Now that you have those listed down, I want you to honestly ask yourself, in the last week, how many hours did you spend doing these things, working on your big goals, working on the things that really matter to you? What I have noticed doing this training with a lot of different people is that at this stage, most people have an aha moment where they're like, oh my God, I've only spent 3 hours working on the things that are most important to me, or I've only spent 4 or 5 hours working on what's most important to me in the last week, and the rest of the week I've just been working on the not important stuff. And that is very much the reality. Often we get so busy with the urgent things, with, said earlier, like, doing the day-to-day stuff, that we lose sight of what's really important for us, and we forget to prioritize those things. So that's a big lesson about being intentional about how we are spending our time. How much time are we spending to the things that are important to us, that are going to matter a year from now, 2 years from now? They're really helping us grow as a person and grow in the direction we want to grow So that's one of the principles of the approach. It's helping you focus on what's wildly important. And get you the clarity on that as well. And then the second one is bringing awareness to how you spend your workday. How much time are you really focusing on building new skill or creating something that cannot be replicated, creating something of value? And how much time are you spending on just logistical tasks that anybody can do and they're not really building on your skill set? This is a question to ask yourself. And we usually divide them into, deep work and shallow work. Now, I know it's a little confusing because you're like, deep work is focused work. I never do that. But examples of things to do in a deep work session or where you use your focus is, doing a strategy, launching a plan for a new feature, programming, learning about something, researching for an upcoming presentation, all of that. And examples of shallow work are the day-to-day, the mundane stuff like, emails in your inbox, responding to colleagues, logistical phone calls, attending status meetings. Now, I understand that all these things in shallow work are very important for you to get your work done. But what tends to happen is that they tend to override the important stuff. They tend to take over your day. So for most entrepreneurs, like when I ask this question, they're like, oh my God, I spend 80% of my day firefighting and doing shallow work and only 20% thinking about strategy, working on my business, thinking about how I want to, grow next year, doing the important work. So again, in this approach, we really help you think about how are you spending your time every day at work. And yeah, something to ask yourself in your typical workday, how much time are you spending on deep versus shallow work could be a good thing to ask. And then the third is really about helping you find the right balance. So I don't believe in the hustle mentality that as an entrepreneur, you need to be working 10 hours a day and, not sleeping and all of that. I don't agree with that. I really feel like to live a fulfilled life, you need to live a balanced life. Now you find your balance. It could be working 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, but the balance should be right for you. And so, again, this is a core principle in the approach that we share. And the fourth is a simple yet practical. So it's what I love about this approach is it's very simple and you can really fine tune it to what are your preferences. And it's something you can do by yourself or with a buddy. And I really encourage you to do it with your team or with a buddy together, because that's when you can really make this habit stick. You can commit to it. And that's when the biggest results come. So, in this training world, it's known that if you have an accountability partner, you're 65% more likely to hit your goal. If you're regularly meeting your accountability partner, then you're 85 or 90% more likely to meet your goal. And if you're doing this with someone, then you're 100% likely to meet your goal, because we don't like to disappoint someone else. We disappoint ourselves all the time, but we don't want to disappoint somebody else. So yeah, that's an invitation. It's something you can very easily do by yourself as well. But if you want that extra accountability and, you want to support a friend, get their work done as well, it could be a good thing to do with somebody else. And also we will be developing a community and we will be providing some online deep work sessions where we can all come and do them together to help you all succeed and help us create that community of change makers that we dream about.